Welcome to Godly Dragon Reviews and Apologetics. This is a little journal entry I'll be doing for this channel so that you guys can know what's been going on in my life lately. I want to talk about something that I did a few weeks ago. See, what I did was I left the Messianic Jewish movement. I recently had another bad experience with a Messianic congregation, and this is the second one that I left. When I first became a Christian, my first Messianic congregation was Adat HaMashiach, which met in Mission Viejo Christian Church before moving to Tustin. I was raised in a Jewish home, and I liked the idea of Messianic Judaism because I thought it was a good idea. I liked the idea of not having to give up my Jewish identity and traditions in order to follow Jesus. But then I noticed that some of the members were too extreme by practically bashing Christian tradition such as Sunday worship and Christmas and Easter by thinking they were ungodly and unbiblical, and by thinking that if you do these things then you aren't following Jesus. So I left that congregation and began attending Mission Viejo Christian Church, and I've been there ever since. In October of last year, I was at a book signing at the Christian bookstore, and a girl with black long hair and glasses came up to me because I mentioned that I'm a Jewish believer in Jesus Christ. So she talked to me about another congregation located in Irvine called Shuva Yisrael that shares a building with Woodbridge Community Church. She told me that this congregation was a lot less dogmatic over what parts of the law that Christians still have to keep. So I attended the congregation, and at first it seemed nice. It seemed to be a lot less extreme at first. When the rabbi was out, the pastor would speak in this place, and they had a sign that said, Woodbridge Community Church, Shuva Yisrael, one people, one family. So when I saw all that, I thought, cool. This congregation is nice, and they partner with a Gentile church. This is a good place to be. But then it took a turn for the worse starting at the end of February and throughout March. And I mean, it really did take a turn for the worse. What happened first was that some more extreme members entered the congregation, bringing their extremism and their bitterness with them. They started saying the same things I heard at my other congregation. Christmas and Easter being evil, Sunday worship being against God, and so on and so forth. And then on the Sabbath service the day before Easter, the rabbi said something really snarky. What he said was, we don't do Easter here because Easter comes from Ishtar. And if you disagree with me, then you can go outside and throw a temper tantrum. And if you say Happy Easter to me, then I'm going to say Merry Christmas. I mean, really. It sounded like he was just fed up with people disagreeing with him. And his jokes were not funny. They were just mean. The congregation really didn't used to be this way. It used to be a nice and loving place. But as soon as Easter came along, boom! It just flat out turned into a terrible place to be. I mean, what if the pastor of the church found out that the rabbi and his members were saying those things? I'm sure the church does all those Christian traditions, and that's the church they partner with too. So that's why I left the Messianic Jewish movement for good. I mean, this movement, it just really broke me. It hasn't done anything good for me. It just really hurt me. I thought it was a good idea at first, but now I think it's just really hurting other Christians. Messianic congregations can hide behind Judaism all they want, but the Christian theology is still there. And if they can't accept that traditions like Sunday worship, Christmas, and Easter have been part of Christianity for centuries, then that causes a major conflict and schism. It's one thing to do things a different way, but another thing to treat other Christians like they're trash for doing things their way. They seriously need to check their facts. We are not required to observe the Sabbath anymore because Jesus is our Sabbath rest. And we worship on Sundays now because it's the day Jesus was resurrected from the dead. And as for Christmas, I suggest you watch Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas, which defends the Christmas tradition really well. And as for Easter, that didn't come from paganism. It was decided by the Council of Nicaea that Easter would be celebrated the first Sunday after the full moon. Another name for Easter is Resurrection Sunday. If you aren't comfortable with calling it Easter, you can call it that instead. And what Messianic congregations have done is that they like to pretend Jesus never came to change anything and instead insist on the old way of doing things. This causes more harm than good, because then what they are really doing is trying to convert Christians to Judaism, even if Jesus is still included in it all. So overall, I really think that the Messianic Jewish movement has done more harm than good. It's filled with falsehood and deceit, and it really hurts other Christians and divides the body of Christ. I really do not suggest this movement. I don't mind if you want to be Catholic, Orthodox, Lutheran, Anglican, Baptist, Pentecostal, non-denominational, and so on and so forth. I'm fine with those denominations because they have Christian tradition in common. But the Messianic movement really strays far from that. They are dogmatic and ritualistic, and I do not want that in any church or denomination. Anyways, God bless and thank you for listening to my first journal.